video is very important. It proves that I'm Christ in a way that most people are too shallow to even begin to understand. I've been interrupted many times. I think a core part of this, I'm going to go over many ideas. A core part of this is out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advanced. Okay? First, let's define that sun, that brightness, that fire, that presence. Psalm 50 shows us that God summons and marshals the earth from the rising of the sun to where it sets. From Zion, perfect in beauty, God shines forth in a consuming fire, right? The Bible says God is consuming fire. Psalm 50 says that a fire devours before him. A tempest rages. So God, the Spirit, is a fire. It devours. It's a potent spirit. Jesus said he came to bring a sword. In another version said he came to bring a fire. Okay? The fire, the sword, the spirit, right? Spirit and spear it. It is compared to surgical strikes, a sharp sword, which are best understood in Royal African Falcon martial arts because no other group of people achieved the martial prowess to be able to beat anybody the way the Royal African Falcon martial art order has. My challenge has no match in human history. A universal challenge to everybody. Outdoor sparring. The true way to compete for masters. Malachi 4. So it says a tempest rages, the fire devours before. Malachi 4 says the sun is the sun in righteousness. Psalm 19 says the sun is like a champion, like a bridegroom, right? Like a champion rejoicing to run his course after victory, right? Running around saying, I won, I won. In Revelation, Jesus says that he is the bright morning star. The sun symbolizes the light of justice, an actual and obvious monotheistic martial arts force. In Isaiah, I believe it is, says Zion is the fire and Jerusalem is the furnace. And of course, David captured the city of Zion, which is called the city of God. Okay? And that has to do with who achieved the martial position, right? The marshaling position, the top martial arts position. Like you see in the movie, the book Fighting for Honor. Single combat was the way things were ritually resolved. And if somebody who's morally precise chooses sparring, outdoors, going up, going out, not indoors, going down, going in. Isaiah 65 says that Christ in judging seeks justice and speeds the cause of righteousness in love and mercy for the righteous who passed and any sinners who rally and obey God through me and accept being screened out, as this is doing obvious justice, and Isaiah 57 overkills it. It says the righteous are to be taken away to be spared from evil. Isaiah, the guy who's cited as predicting Jesus coming in the New Testament, says, the main one, says the righteous are taken away. So in judging, right, God sits to judge. The fire of God comes into my heart, and in judging, can you imagine these racist Europeans, these governing class, these teachers, these priests going, I have the fire of God. That's why they changed my voice. Because they know that intense Nigerian second generation focused intensity from a masculine and heterosexual emphasized brain surgeon father from the Royal African Falcon line, the Igbo royal line in its greatest, in its morally precise. Not just seeking success, not joining the church in their debauchery and pedophilia, but in its morally precise form, its last morally precise form ever possible when we consider principle. Isaiah 57, okay. Isaiah 51:4 says God's justice will become a light to the nations, and his arm, which is his spirit, his spiritual force, etc., his presence will bring justice to the nations, right? His arm is also seen as the king, the essence. In the Lord's hand, the king's heart is a stream of water that he channels to those who please him. Isaiah 28 says he will be a spirit of justice to the one who stands and sits in judgment, and a source of strength to the obedient who turn back the battle at the gate. Okay, anyone who rallies to me in the spiritual people, the souls of people in the afterlife who are in the spirit of God that are guiding me, not the fools using technology to interfere. This is what is meant in Psalm 18:12 when it says, out of the brightness of his presence, clouds advance. Out of the conveyance of the arguments, using my martial arts argument, actions, the conveyance of actions, fruits, deeds, arguments, okay, of God's presence in me, okay, the clouds advanced. People every day die and get trampled and get thrown into the lake of fire, okay? People are responding like bitches and torturing each other. Look at how they responded to the pandemic. 1 million Americans died. Part of the reason they died was because people won't obey God through me. Okay, we'll get to that momentarily. You'll see why it's saying that. Okay, Psalm 18:26 says that to the pure he shows himself pure, and to the devious he shows himself shrewd. Okay, so to all the wicked people, they're like, Jesus is back. Okay, the Royal African Martial Art Fire Spirit of God is back in its glory, in its pinnacle form, in its Christ form, its anointed form. And just like in Revelation 19, the heavenly warrior defeats the beast. Okay, he wages war with righteousness and justice. And they're doing bitch ass fucking shit. Bitch shit. To confuse you about that. Can you imagine when man's masculinity is called on most and they're like, oh, confuse it. Stupid, right? Oh, yes, if he's proper British, then maybe. If he was white, maybe we could do something of him. If he was me, acting like sniveling, jealous little girls. Oh, I should have been prom queen. Acting like scared little girls on their period. I don't want him to say that. I don't want. Just fucking pathetic. That is not the fire of God. That is that worldly nation bitch. Anyway, where was I? So rebels see my coming as a bad thing or realize it is bad for them in death. Jeremiah 22:22 makes it clear with Jeremiah 50, that they will be disgraced with their offspring, and they're disgraced right now, and that I am the last Christos possible. Also, the offspring of the wicked will perish spiritually, is what the Bible says. It says the offspring of the wicked will perish. Clouds are a collection of righteousness and a spirit of judgment, whose waters bring affliction to the wicked. I am the center, and in me is the Spirit of God. So I'm in and on the clouds, so to speak. The Spirit of God that cannot be harmed. Proverbs 16, Isaiah 41:8, Proverbs 34, Proverbs 21:1, and Amos 5:4 make this clear, as water stands for righteousness in the royal martial art order of God. Thus, when it says in Proverbs 34, it says, whose hands have gathered up the wind, New Living Translation, who holds the winds in his fists. Okay, so the winds, right, the marshaling force. And the Bible says the prophet are but wind, but it's the fire, okay, mixed with the wind, which is the Spirit of God. Without the Spirit of God, it's an empty prophet. It's just an idol made of stone or wood, right? It's just, some American guy, look at, I'm an important governing, I'm a celebrity, right? It's fucking retarded. That's fucking dumb. Can you imagine that guy, Aragorn, played Aragorn in Lord of the Rings? Can you imagine Tom Cruise? Can you imagine, Will Smith, Chris Rock? And they're like, I'm actually representing God. I'm a star. I'm the morning star, in fact. Luciferian punks. Pussies. No martial arts on this planet can claim to be of God and be taken seriously but me. And it has to do with character. It has to do with lineage. It has to do with the fair selection. It has to do with doing God justice, who can proclaim his mighty acts. Imagine these worms in the church and their secret societies. I do a little martial arts on the side myself. Okay, it's fucking stupid. With a whistle? With a whistle and hiked up orange jogging shorts? Like, give me a fucking break. You motherfuckers kidding? Tell me it's a fucking joke.